welcome to this week's edition of the MAGNATE, mentoring on television. Yes, this business school. Remember that when you have to go to a business school, you pay huge amount of money, depending on the one you want to choose to go to. Is it Harvard or Savannah Business School? We have all the brains here. Remember that we started a discussion last week. We intend to conclude it this week. And it's a great pleasure to still have with us in the studios of AHMED Media Company Limited, Dr. AHMED Tunde POPOOLA, the MD of CRC Credit Bureau and chairman of CBAN. CBAN is Credit Bureau Association of Nigeria. Thank you very much for rejoining us, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so we have talked about the economy, the finance, the borrower, and the lender in previous edition. We intend to continue. But this time around, the first question would naturally be, in spite of the advent of credit bureau, what do you think is responsible for the high failure rates of borrowers paying back? Is it just out of negligence, or their attitude, or the economy is not favorable?
Well, you have also become a guru in finance from your question, because it's a combination of all of those all of those factors. Why do people do not pay back loans? First of all, I talk at the initial edition. I talk about the capacity to pay and the willingness to pay, because sometimes people have the capacity, but they just don't want to repay loans. Okay, so but in the country, from my experience, from what I've seen, there are so many factors responsible. The first one is people borrowing for wrong reasons. So, and then of course, people have mismatch. You want to build a house, and then you go and take an overdraft. Okay, so you're borrowing short-term funds for long-term projects. All right? If you take a loan that you are supposed to repay in a year to buy an asset, let's say motor vehicle, that's supposed to be for long-term, that's a mismatch. You will struggle with repayment. That's the first thing. Second one is that if you borrow for consumption, once you enjoy the food, you enjoy the trip, it's difficult for you. You'll be pained that you are repaying. You've forgotten that you have enjoyed the service. The third one is the macroeconomic environment. I mean, we are in the COVID era. The country has been going through recession. Some are hit by unexpected situations. We have insecurity in the country. Some have challenges around that. So those are issues that are beyond the borrower themselves. But they still have to repay their loans. Those factors are there. And I think government needs to do more in that regard to support people. So in more advanced countries, the experience we have as a bureau is that a lot of loan restructuring is encouraged, so that people will not lose their credit score, so that their credit history will still remain very good, and that can enable them to borrow again later. They can suspend prepayment, they can suspend the servicing of the loan, they can, elongate the period for repayment, and they can repackage the loan for them, especially when you discover that there are factors, exogenous factors beyond the borrower. Is the environmental issue that has not enabled them to really be able to repay back their loans. So those are some of the factors.
Interesting. I'm happy that you talked about government. I remember during the lockdown, sometimes last year, where government had to restructure just to encourage the borrowers. And then you think that's not enough, or just like you said,
so
you have
I
to
mean,
do more?
during that time, government, their own intervention funds, they brought down the interest rate from 9% to 5%. And then they also encourage, commercial banks and other lenders to practice what we call forbearance. Listen to your customer, engage them, then report them, repackage them, and report to us. We will
be part of them.
Yeah, exactly. So we will not punish you for that, and that work. But I don't know whether that is still existing as we speak today. But they need to do much more than that. That's the point. That's the point that I'm making.
Okay, so this issue that we are having now, is it really encouraging for you in terms of, is it making your job as a credit bureau easy, or is it a bit of a challenge for you because you want to in answering this question, also give us an insight into some of your products. CRC, for instance, to where you mitigate some of these things.
Yeah, so it's the environment itself and what has happened from the recession and the COVID have made our jobs very challenging. Because really what happened is that the profile of customers are going to be changing for worse. Because they are unable to meet the obligation. But you're able to separate those who are willing to pay and those who don't want to pay.
The constituent ones, so
exactly.
To say.
So, fostered on them by the circumstances. And that's the whole essence of, pragmatic review of engaging the borrowers and making sure that you rephrase it. Because if you don't do that, their credit score will decline, it will deteriorate, and that will affect their ability to borrow in the future. It will affect the interest rate they are going to be paying in the future, because that will move up because they become riskier clients to the borrowers. So what we have said is that, first of all, as a bureau, we want to encourage everyone to even find out what their credit status is. And that's the thing that we have been promoting in CRC Credit Bureau. So we have products, we call it self-inquiry. We have credit score, which you should be able to take. I mean, you should be able to come to the CRC to look for. So and you don't need to come physically. You just go on the website. And then crccreditbureau.com. It will come, face to face with you, and then you click, and then you download your report, and then you know what the banks are saying about you. Or use your phone. We have what we call CRC Mobile, which is through your phone, download the app, CRC Mobile application. Whether it's Android powered or iOS powered, whichever phone you are using, just download it. And then on your phone, right there, wherever you are, you can view your credit report. If you don't do medical checkup, you may not know the ailment that you have.
That's
exactly.
Correct. Now, you cannot be in this studio without lending a voice to the trending issue in the finance sector as we have it now. I mean, we saw the hammer recently by the CBN governor on Bureau de Change. You want to tell those who do not, this is a business school we are in. I'm not paying for it anyway. But I'm here sitting on behalf of other people viewing. I want to lend a voice. Tell us, what exactly does it mean for some of us who are ignorant about it?
All right, so what it means is this. The central bank wants to furnish forex to the populace. And they have to find people who have to do that on their behalf. So normally you do that through financial institutions. But the central bank in its wisdom also license what we call Bureau de Change to be able to do that on their own, because they are all over the country. In fact, by the central bank governor, I think there are over 2,000 of them.
Wow.
As we speak. And so CBN makes funds available to them, dollar, pound available to them for retail to the public, those who are in need of FX. And they discover that it's been abused, completely abused. And so CBN decided to now review that policy and say, okay, we will not channel our own funds, CBN funds, FX funds, towards Bureau de Change anymore. We will channel through our licensed banks, commercial banks. Okay. Let commercial banks use their own vehicles, which are basically the branches that they have all over the country, to sell foreign exchange for those who are in need and have documentation to support that. And I think that's the best thing to do.
Really?
It's the best thing to do, because really it's been abused. And there have been a lot of rent seeking, been a lot of corruption. There have been a lot of bad practices, unethical things that have happened, that we have seen in the last few years. Okay. And you can see that the FX is getting worse. The naira keep on depreciating, even despite all the effort of the central bank. So that's the reason why they did that. But again, we have gone through this before. This is not the first time the central bank has stopped the BDC from accessing, FX from them. It all then depends on what follows. Because the reality is not about, strictly for me personally, it's not about the BDC. It's about the availability of the foreign exchange, of the forex itself. Where you don't have enough, where demand outstrips supply,
That's exactly my
there
next
will always
question.
be that pressure.
Exactly.
So I think government needs to find a way to open up the market and let the dollar float.
Exactly, sir.
So let demand and supply drive
Equitable.
the market, and then you find the right price for a product.
The program is still the magnet. We are still straying the economy, the finance sector of our great country, Nigeria. It's business school standards that we are having here. Mentoring on television. Let's go for a breather. We're back to conclude this interesting conversation. Welcome back to the Magnet. We are on our last lap now, and we still have with us here Dr. AHMED Tunde POPOOla, the MD, Chief Executive Officer of CRUC Credit Bureau, and he doubles as the Chairman of CBAN, Credit Bureau Association of Nigeria. You're welcome again to the program.
Thank you.
You have just given a good insight on the new policy on Bureau de Change. And you were telling us that about 2,000 of them licensed. What happens to them? Number one. Second is, are the commercial banks ready, prepared enough to muzzle the requests from the public, both the business sector, those traveling and all that? These are my concerns, sir.
All right, so those are very interesting questions. First of all, what happens to the Bureau de Change? Well, the fund from government for resale to the public should be just one source of products for them. So if you have a shop and somebody brings, you are selling something for one, that's just one product. There are so many other ones. So they should go out there and mobilize their own FX. And there are other furnishers, other producers, those who sell, who are into exports, that can give them money to sell on their behalf. So I don't think that will lead to the death of so many of them, unless those of them that are dependent absolutely and only on the government's sources. Okay, so I think that should be the case. And so the bank should be very prepared. They are empowered. It's part of what they should be doing ordinarily. You should be able to walk into a bank with your document, legitimate document, and say, yes, I need $5,000 for school fees of my daughter, of my son. I need to pay for purchase something, and these are the documents. And that should be no brainer. It should be okay to do that. But we don't forget what I've said earlier. The challenge is still about the supply. The supply of FX is still very, very low. And so what we are going to see, and I hope it does not happen, is that there will still be a lot of pressure on the banks. And if CBN is not careful, you'll begin to see some unethical practices again, even from that side, from that source. And so because everybody wants to make money, people want to make profit. And so CBN needs to do a lot more to really monitor what's going on. But I say, from pure economics, that when you have scarcity of product, it's either it drives us the price or people do underhand dealings with it. You can't have it any other way. The best thing is for you to go and look for how to bring enough products to the market, which is how do we bring enough FX into the market to satisfy us? Or how do we curtail, the use of FX? Why should we be importing everything? Okay? Why can't we just import what is very essential for our own growth and for our own development and for our own production?
Why can't we also generate a lot of product for export?
Exactly.
To earn us foreign exchange?
Exactly. I mean, if you've been to other parts of the world, I used to tell people, if you've been to Saudi Arabia, the dollar to Saudi money has always been 3.7, 3.7. In the last 20 years or so that I've known, very stable. Because they generate enough FX through tourism and through oil. But we don't. We rely heavily only on oil to generate FX.
Okay.
And because the oil market has been completely battered by the circumstances of the global economy, we could not just earn enough FX to satisfy the demand for FX.
Okay, so that has taken me to just a new vista now. I'm talking about, looking at going away from the mono economy. What's your take on really grooming our agri sector to at least earn us some form of foreign exchange.
So for you to do that, I mean, we have been paying lip service to diversification.
Exactly.
Every government, since I've grown up and become very conscious of my environment, I've always been talking about diversification.
I agree, and it's lip service.
But nobody has been doing it because they've been able to get in what they consider as enough money from oil. And so diversification has not really taken place. What we mean by diversification is to make sure that you have sources. Other government generate enough revenue. I mean, effects from other sources, and that means you have to promote exports. Okay. So agric will become a source of revenue generation, FX generation when you open up the value chain in agriculture. So not by the physical product or raw products being exported, but by processing and then exporting to other parts of the world. That's the way you can have the kind of mileage that you are going to have by becoming a source of FX for us as a country. But we don't have that, and I think we should be ready for that. We have the African Free Trade, agreement. We have signed to it. It's going to become operational, and so Nigeria has opportunity in that regard to be able to begin to see how we can have agro-processing, companies, so that all the raw materials that we have from agri products, a lot of them we can tomato, shea butter, cocoa, cashew, we can process them and then export them to other parts, and then we'll have more than enough FX.
At this point, let's take a short break. We actually visited a training session where aquaculture was, promoted, so to say. Lagos, state of aquatic splendor. There was this training to raise the consciousness of aquaculture. Let's give you just a short breather to complement what our guest in the studio is saying. We'll be back shortly.
As part of the mandate of Center for Rural Development, CERUD, a one-day fish farming training workshop with the theme Empowering the Youth for the 21st Century held at Ekpe Center. This was meant to train the participants on the modern method of fish farming, which was immediately followed with a welcome address by CERUD Director, Mr. Adeniji Stephen. After the opening formalities, the seminar was declared open by the chairman of All Farmers Association of Nigeria, Otumba Babafemi Oke.
On behalf of the management and the entire staff of Center for Rural Development, I welcome you all to today's training program.
I, Dr. Femi Oke, the chairman of All Farmers Associations of Nigeria for the whole Southwest, hereby declare the workshop open.
What are your expectations from today's seminar?
CERUD, which is Center for Rural Development under Lagos State Government, they were trying to do a training for the aquaculture members, which is the commodities that are into fisheries, training and to empower the youths.
Engaging the participants on their reason for coming, Dr. Akinloye Busari, who has backed a PhD in aquaculture, engaged the participants on the modern process of fish farming. This was done both in theory and practical section.
So today, our emphasis is on aquaculture. When we say aquaculture, some say aquaculture, some say fish farming. But aquaculture is bigger than fish farming. Fish farming is a component of aquaculture. So for you to go into fish farming, you must have land. Then when you have land, you must be able to do necessary survey. Then the second thing is water. Water is important. You look at water in terms of quantity. There must be sufficient water. Okay? When you have sufficient water, don't assume that you have gotten it right. Your water can be clean, but you still have to do water analysis.
See now, see, the eggs are already running.
You can see. See. No, you will see now. See.
Yeah. Yes. You see, the eggs are already running. It's running as a result of the hormone. So when it is like this now, what you now do is you now take a male, because the eggs without the male present, the eggs will be a waste.
This reddish coloration shows that they are matured, sexually matured. You know, I told you, because of improvement in feed technology, it is possible for you to feed your fish to grow to this size in 4 months. But because they have grown to this size in 4 months does not make them to be sexually matured.
So pick a feeding point. Don't just put here. That's not the best way to feed your fish. Once you pick a feeding point and you are consistent with it, they'll be coming. Okay? Now you can see they have finished it. Once you feed your fish and they are eating, that is a good sign. But when you feed your fish and they are not eating, it calls for concern. You have two types of smoking. You have the cold smoking and you have the hot smoking. When you have smoked, don't package them immediately. Allow them to cool. And never use air conditioner to cool them. Let them be cool inside the natural air.
We started with the request for approval to organize the program, which was forwarded to the Deputy Governor, and graciously enough, the Deputy Governor gave us the approval to host the program here in our office at Tigodu, Ekpe.
It's quite successful because we made all required contacts, and then the farmers, they actually came and they participated.
In their response, the participants, which can be referred to as our future magnates, expressed their joy thoughts.
I've learned a lot about fish farming because the way I handle my fish is different from the way we have been taught here.
We wish CERUD success in their future endeavors as they continuously discharge their statutory mandate.
Welcome back. Is the magnates. Now, sir, what do you say to an entrepreneur that just see the need to take a loan facility and quote and unquote refuses to? Maybe because of the lack of trust, fear, phobia, and all that. What's the counsel for such a business owner?
Sorry, he doesn't want to take a loan, or he's taking a loan?
No, he's not interested in taking a loan to grow the business.
Oh, okay. I mean, we have so many of them, and it has to do with culture. You know, in Africa, maybe from our part of even Nigeria, taking a loan is seen as something that is strange to a lot of people, and people really will tell you they can't sleep when they take a loan. So, and people, you know, advance that reason even to business loans, and so they run away from it. But how much can you do with your own capital? It's very limited. The essence of loan is to be able to propel you to do more, to produce more, to expand your market, to expand your asset, to acquire more assets. Okay? So what I always advise is that you don't take loan to start a business, but you take a loan to grow a business. So when you want to start a business, look for what we call risk capital, which is capital that is not going to be encumbered by pressure on repayment and all of that. So your own savings, family, friends, other people can join you. If you find somebody who believes so much in your idea, like a private equity, they can come in and start the business. And then when the business is doing well, 1, 2, 3 years, then you want to expand through the growth. I mean, you want to go to a next growth phase, then you can then take a loan. When you have good ideas, you have good horizon, you have passion for what you're doing, the market is there, and you've been able to put all of this in what you call a business plan, and you can see the cash flow projection looking beautiful, and you can speak to a banker or a financier and they can see it as well. I mean, go for it. That way, you will be building, you know, empire of businesses.
Yeah, but you know there is still a clause, sir. The issue of collateral.
A bank needs collateral as a fallback position, as a comfort for some things that could go wrong. That's the only reason why they need collateral. A bank will not lend to you because you have a good collateral. A bank will lend to you because you have a good case, and you have good concept, and you have good cash flow. They can see that when they give you this loan, it will generate enough businesses and revenue that you enable them to pay back. But peradventure, things could go wrong, like external factor that we talk about. then they must have some level of comfort to fall back on. That's the whole essence of collateral security. The government of Nigeria has now, through the central bank, has what we call the National Collateral Registry, where even your movable assets, talk about financial infrastructure, and this is part of what the government has done as positive, vehicle to still excite the SMEs to be able to have access to loan without stress.
Interesting. Still talking about SME, your final concepts, huh? That's what we do here. It's business school. I just imagine you're in a class and then you're rounding off a class. The Savannah Standard.
So I have a couple of advice for my people at home. First of all, I run a credit bureau, and I also want people to do their credit check, because somehow there could be something the banks have recorded against you that you may not be aware of. We are in the era of insecurity, we're in the era of COVID, we're in the era of recession. Please make sure that you manage your affairs in a way that you do only things that will make you sleep at night.
Very instructive,
The
sir.
third one is that all the assets you have, manage them, use them for the purpose for which you are not going to lose them. Then I always advise people to always insure their assets.
Thank you so much. How can we thank you? Other than saying thank you very much, sir, for coming, for tutoring us, for mentoring us, for lending a voice to our businesses. That has been the Magnate. I'm sure your notebook is filled up now. To make it a date with us same time next week. We shall bring another erudite scholar to lend a voice to our businesses. Until then, keep watching the Magnate. Bye for now.